have our mandala view of our transits for the week. We have the sun in gate 17, which is an Ajna gate, and it is the gate of opinions. Earth in gate 18, which is a splenic gate, and it is the gate of correction.
And together, this makes the opinions of what needs to be corrected become something that is so easy to cement when the beings that have it are following their strategy and authority and honoring their type. Otherwise, it becomes something not that.
The difference between like correcting something for the greater good and the joy of all and the vitality of all and judgment towards oneself or others.
Yeah, and the judgment that nothing's good enough and the projected channeliness of being not happy about any of that and all that. Yep.
All right, cool. So diving in, we have the sun in gate 17, which is following, or the gate of opinions. And this is the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. And so gate 17, an Ajna gate, part of collective circuitry. So collective think sharing as our keynote and as part of the understanding circuit. And gate 17 hooks up with gate 62, which is details, and the 1762 make up the channel of acceptance. Gate 17 looks for a trustworthy concept or opinion among many that is able to survive testing and criticism. And it's designed to structure an answer into a concept, workable pattern, or a possible solution. Gate 17 is the pressure to express an opinion. Gate 62 translates a concept into language with details, and it's supported with facts and those details that are presented for examination.
Yeah, the presenting of stuff for examination is that's a little bit misleading. I mean, because that's what it's doing, but it's presenting itself for acceptance. And so, and the 17's opinion is not always accepted. Why should it be?
Just an opinion.
It's an opinion, everyone's got one of them, as the old sayings go. So it is so dependent upon recognition. Both of these gates, so dependent upon recognition. Even though one of them faces an energy source, it doesn't matter. If it's not recognized, it's bitter. It's not gonna, see that thing. But 17, there's this beautiful thing about 17. It's got the keynote of one of the aspects of our motivation. So there's no end to hierarchy, is what it says. To know that there's, to lead, one must first follow. And when you get into the color part of, I just noticed this correlation because one is highly dependent upon the other. When you get into our motivation, which we've gotten into before a little bit, the third color motivation is the leader and the follower. It's just the leader and the follower, and that is a steadfast shared opinion that once one accepts that, this is a case where the third line almost explains as much as the foundation, even though the foundation is still a foundation. And that leader-follower aspect is the recognition that when I accept there's no end to hierarchies, I accept that I sometimes follow, I sometimes lead, and I almost all the time learn to recognize that's not up to me. When I accept that, my opinions will be valued and they'll be sought after and they'll have the right timing, because this is a case where death becomes the opinion and deaf ears does it fall upon when the timing isn't right. As soon as it's falling on deaf ears, no one wants anything to do with it. Just take me for an example. I've got some opinions. That just, if the timing was wrong, no one wants to hear it. And it's supposed to be that way. Acceptance, the timing of your opinion. It's not good enough to have one, because sometimes you'll have to follow. And it's great that you have them, because at the times that they're recognized, now you lead. So acceptance, accept that you're going to run into all the details needed. You're going to have what's needed to come with all of this. And don't allow it to be the type of thing that simply feels like it's certain. That would be the great, this week, be careful of your certainty. Really test that. Are you supposed to be following rather than leading? Or are you out in front? I would look at leadership with this gate as you'll know it when you see it. And the rest of the time, you're following. No different than the generator. The generator doesn't feel like doing 90% of the things its mate wants to do. But luckily, there's 10% that fills up a lot of time. Generators, what are and the individual? You're an individual. You're strictly individual in your definition. What are you really in the mood for, Moni? All of it? Hey, Moni, in the mood for this? You're not in the mood for 80% of the things, but 20% fills up all your time real easy, and that's fine. And it's the same thing here. You're not the leader, maybe even 80% of the time. That's okay, because the 20% that what was an opinion that basically is shared with an idea on the other side, right? Becomes something you can get people to see the picture. Let me let you see the picture of what this is. Let me paint a picture of how this is wicked cool, and we're going to get excited about this. This is going to work. It's part of a corrective process. It's really going to identify the things that are going to be, we all get to share moving into the future. Now it's leading. And as soon as that runs its course, acceptance. Accept that doesn't matter what details you got. Wait, follow, lead again another day. That's what 17 is all about. It's not about being right. It's about a busy mind, and if you've got a defined ajna, then an extra busy mind that is busy conjuring up the concepts that might be worth sharing, logically speaking. That's all. Not all of them are worth sharing. And all the ones that are still need their special timing. So a lot of surrender in this gate because it's so powerful. If this, technically speaking, get a bunch of gate 17s and you'll get basically the opinions you need to basically run the world. Right? You could write a little textbook and then do it again, write another textbook, put them next to each other and see what you need to blend together. But you could do that with this gate and it would yield something. Very few people will get to live all of that out. Accept that and let the 20% fill up the space that makes the 80% feel like it didn't matter. Yeah, that's some good advice right there. Yep.
Yeah, with gate 17, I also like to remember that it's part of the scientific process.
Totally.
Right? The 63 is asking why, the 4 is offering a possibility, then it moves over to the 17 for an opinion or a hypothesis, and then the 62 is going to test it with details. And so I find,
and if it's any good, the 16 is going to pick it up and get enthusiastic and pull from the depth right down to the joy of 58 through the 18.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and also with gate 17, my boyfriend has this and it's hanging, and I have found a lot of times he would offer something that was an opinion or a hypothesis, but it would come out as I know, because he also has the 43, and it would feel a little funny for me. And then he started playing with, I hypothesize. This is just an opinion. And he started presenting these gate 17 hypotheses, these opinions, and that framework, as opposed to this I know, or I bet you this, I bet you that. And I was like, what are you betting? You don't know this for sure. And he started playing with I hypothesize and I offer this opinion. And it felt so much better and it felt so much cleaner energetically. And even like he was more attractive and more appealing to me when he was speaking in that manner. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. So if yeah, I know, it's a fun one. So if either this week, if you're playing with this in a transit, or if you have gate 17 as as a natal thing just in your birth chart, maybe play around with that. Recognize when it's an opinion and offer it as a hypothesis, and it'll be met a lot smoother. There'll be way less resistance, and it just is a lot smoother and cleaner. So that's what I want to talk.
And that's so important to notice. Way less resistance when we follow our strategy and authority and honor the various aspects. We get less resistance in life, no matter the type or the definition or any of it. And 17's acceptance. Think about it. I hypothesize is an invitation to lead, if hypothesis be good and the timing is right. And it's also your own internal invitation out in the world to say, but if you don't accept it, I may still follow. It's this leader follower is so embedded in this thing because there's no end to hierarchies. And where there's a beginning, there's an ending, there's a new beginning type thing. So
and recognizing that like hierarchies have gotten this like whole weird bad framework, But it's just
Right.
the nature of how the brain works. Like your eyes are looking at what's most important because it's what's most important. Your brain is constantly filtering through what is the most important thing to be doing. If you haven't eaten in 2 days, you don't really care about having a deep conversation with somebody. You have a more pressing matter to attend to. And if there weren't hierarchies and your brain didn't work that way, it turns into chaos. So recognizing a just hierarchy, right? We're not talking about like tyranny here. We're talking about a well-managed, a just, and ethical hierarchy is
An
actually
ethical
ideal.
hierarchy.
It's
Yeah, it
beautiful,
manages
right?
itself.
You need somebody who's in charge, and you need people who know how to do what they're doing, and everything has their place. Like you want your heart beating blood and not worrying about, you know, cleaning your kidneys or whatever, right? Like
Right,
you
right.
don't want your heart worrying about what the lungs are doing. You want your bones to be doing bone stuff, your nervous system to be doing nervous system stuff, right? Like you want everything to be in its proper place and its proper ordering. And when things are in their proper place and their proper ordering, everything could work more smoothly. Same thing with human design. If your centers are in order and your gates are in order and you know what's yours and what's not yours and it's running within its proper hierarchy, right? Within, hey, my definition is more important than my not definition because
Right.
that's what's me, and then what's not me, if I could recognize it as not me, then it's going to be running more smoothly. So I
Less
think there's,
resistance.
yeah, again, just the less resistance of when things are in their proper place, when your bed is made and your house is clean, your whole life is going to function better. And so I think it's about that, about participating in those ethical, proper hierarchies, create those in your life, engage in with those in your life, and like watch those dominoes just kind of boop, boop, boop.
Well, yeah, and that hierarchy thing, that you're right, it is not meant to be a tyranny thing. It's just, I mean, a husband and wife will swap hierarchies left and right.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, two
The
seconds later,
negotiation of
she's
any,
totally in charge, but a minute and a half later, oh no, he's back into, whatever, right?
yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's the negotiations to make it fair and happy for all. Like a proper negotiation works best for everybody, right? Like you do this, I do this. Cool, you do the stuff I don't want to do, and I'll do the stuff you don't want to do, and we both win. Like those kinds of negotiations, those kinds of hierarchies in their proper places can be a really beautiful thing. And you could build something really great with the right people in the right places and the right
absolutely.
ideas and the right opinions in the right places. Look, we tied it.
Big acceptance process, and don't take it personally. This is not a gate to take personally. You got a bunch of stuff flying through. So what? Sometimes the timing is great. Enjoy it that way, or else you'll drive yourself mad thinking you're certain when you're not.
Moving on to the Earth in Gate 18, which is working on what has been spoiled, or the Gate of Correction. This is the vigilance and determination to uphold and defend basic and fundamental human rights. Gate 18 is a splenic gate, part of collective circuitry, which is sharing is our keynote for collective circuitry, and is part of the understanding circuit specifically. Gate 18 hooks up with Gate 58, which is vitality, and the 58-18 make up the channel of judgment. Gate 18 is about discovering, naming, and challenging what needs correcting. And it has a deep concern for human rights and keeping society healthy and in harmony with itself. It has a gift for critical awareness, directing to the source of the weakness or the imperfection. And it's focusing on ways to correct, modify, or replace. And it cleans out what isn't healthy, restoring vitality to something corruptive.
This is the awareness of what to do with all that energy coming out of 58, joy and vitality. It's the vitality to experiment. It's the vitality to share the opinion that's up in 17. It's a vitality to find joy in all of that process from 58 all the way up to 63. This empowers that whole stream. I mean, that two streams there and that whole circuitry. And 18 just loves to correct stuff. I want to challenge this. I think I should challenge that. It's two has to realize it's right timing. Because as it's challenging stuff, it's sometimes it didn't need to be challenged. This as a channel, this channel needs to learn just because I thought it definitely does not mean I need to say it. This is the invention of that. 17 carries that plenty. Every gate carries that plenty, but this
Mm-hmm.
this channel carries it in spades, like amazingly, because it deserves its name. It's judgmental, but it's judgmental on the surface. Oh, I think I need some of this. No, that didn't go with that. Or this should have went with that. It's just a judgmentalness that's on the surface, in as much as the person carrying it isn't trying to be judgmental upon the other on any kind of deep thing. They're just judgmental about the thing. And it's not quite personal to the other, even though the other's the one that's the object of that
Receiving it.
thing. Yeah, receiving it. And what they received is an ugly energy sometimes. It feels judgmental. And if the person holding and carrying that energy doesn't recognize it, they sometimes are personally judgmental because they think that that's what's supposed to it be, and it's not. 18 simply wants to correct the right thing. It wants to find joy. Its job is to correct until joy. Look at it like a governor on a motor or on a fuel system that's governing the air flow, so it's just right, not too rich, not too soft, and that motor's going to purr like a champ. 18 gets the joy to purr. That's what it's supposed to do. And it gets a bad rep because in a not self world, it ends up being bitchy at every freaking thing.
The know-it-all.
A know-it-all, bitchy at everything. You mix it with gate 17, total know-it-all, opinionated, certain, not certain, hung up on things. This can fall into that so easily. But in its best expression, obviously, in the expression it's supposed to be, 18 is this beautiful recognizing force that sees a pattern and says, let's identify with this. And the second something starts to disturb itself, where 17 that can't even keep track of time, it's just got a bunch of ideas, is like, I mean, a bunch of, opinions and hypotheses to throw in. It loses track of everything except that stuff. 18 is there watching the clock and making dang sure that things run on time. It's making dang sure that it's right, and it kicks the tires, and it challenges the thing half the time. 18 challenges to make sure it's still working. The other half the time it's challenging because it may be a little bit messed up, and that challenge can feel personal. So 17 feels a little bit personal when the person's hypothesis comes out like, I know. You detailed that, and that's profound what you detailed, by the way.
Yeah.
That was a data collection point, what you revealed, by the way, big
Yeah.
time.
That was a fun one.
Totally. Put that in a textbook. And 18 similarly, it's got to get the right mixture. And that mixture is all about what will it correct, and it's little drops. It keeps adding into the well of what was worth correcting, what wasn't worth correcting, what seemed to make sense. Was that to my taste? You know what? I think my taste is changing a little bit, and it's constantly willing to be part of the experimental process. We need it. Quality control. 18 is Mr. White Gloves. Quality control dude. With a 17 assist. Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting to remember that gate 18 is part of collective circuitry. So both that it's not personal, it's very much on the big scale, zoom out everybody. And also the nature of collective circuitry is about sharing. So it's not personal, and it just wants to tell you, hey, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah. It does want to tell you that that's wrong. And it's up to you to be like, it might not be wrong, and I won't take it personally. And if you have a gate 18 in your life and you're coming to this information, you can start to train yourself, and suddenly they'll get put at ease about it, because the not self 18, which is most, right, has had to fight through this world and bite their tongue, and then they can't bite their tongue. Think of that torture back and forth when they could have just been themselves. Yep.
And that recognition that 18, like the 1858 is a projected channel. So, be mindful of, just because you recognize something doesn't mean you have to tell people, wait for them to ask you, because they'll appreciate it. They'll hear you more. They'll appreciate it more. And you'll feel better about it than if you blurt it out too soon and then they reject it and then it feels icky.
Yeah, absolutely. Let the cross of service be in service. It'll work. It's a lot like the 40. The 40 is always willing to mule for you if it gets the right affection. And this is willing to do the same when it gets the right recognition and cooperation. And so that's a great way for you to navigate your decision making when you have these gates in your body graph. And that'll be a great way to navigate. We can talk about when we get to what this week is going to be like.
So, moving on to our incarnation crosses for the week. First up, we have the right angle cross of service, which adds the 58 and the 52 to the mix. And these are people with a logical understanding of what it means to be human, moved by the dissatisfaction to focus on correcting, reorganizing, and serving humanity. Then we will move to the juxtaposition cross of opinions, and this will add the 38 and the 39. And these are people who provoke you to expose or examine your spirit or your purpose, whose wealth of opinions are easily shared but not easily argued with. And finally, we'll move into the left angle cross of upheaval, which adds the 38 through 39. And these are the great button pushers, always sticking their fingers in the pie to disturb the status quo in preparation for corrections needed to redirect humanity or individuals in healthy directions.
Yeah, or drive them into mad directions, because upheaval can be a lot inside of different beings, depending on what like motors are defined and what the type is. But starting with service, I just love this. That's the right word, dissatisfaction. The channel of judgment in gate 18, and as an opposition in the wheel and part of the cross, the 17 and the 18, dissatisfaction is part of their language. That's why I said the quality control person, you know. They're supposed to speak in a language of dissatisfaction to make sure they get the best quality of the thing, right? And it's not personal. It's I want the quality control person, with the white gloves and everything, who's the most easily dissatisfied person there is. If I have an important product that always needs to be out on market on time and really well polished and good and sturdy and quality, right? I want that quality control guy because he pulls the pieces of crap off the line. He's dissatisfied with it. When you bring that into a personal life, into a relationship, dissatisfaction becomes a thing that you have to watch out for. If this is in you, your partner is has a hard time with your dissatisfaction. If it's in your partner, you have a hard time with their way of expression of dissatisfaction. Often enough, it's something you would recognize that we could start talking about. Or you got past it. Yep, that's just how they are, and that's a healthy thing. If you're there, I want to hear that story. So these crosses move, and don't forget, we just came off of the vessel of love and healing. Healing moves into service. Service is once we're in service, we're now working. We got a job. We got a job. Eden over. This process is Eden, universal love in the body, vessel of love. And now, okay, we've healed and we have a job. We can, I guess everyone's working for the weekend now, but, but, right. So the plane became manageable. People got employed here essentially, during this process. And so you can breathe a little bit. You're no longer wondering where your hut's going to be. You got a job. You can afford good rent now, sort of type of thing. That's what's happening. And the upheaval is you can afford it. You couldn't push buttons during Eden. Buttons didn't even exist so much per se, although I'm sure they naturally got pushed during the vessel. Just by being so innocent, you're going to push somebody's buttons. And here now, you can push the buttons that will provoke and test the spirit. Remember, I was saying before, this whole process is leading into that whole what's going to happen as we move into struggle. That's right. So the struggle, it's basically when the service is entered and we're now able to basically examine the things we're supposed to do, we can afford to. When I say afford to, it's like when you have enough money, you can now afford to do the thing you just couldn't do before. You can afford to provoke the spirit rather than just hunting and gathering. And that provocation is going to turn into a struggle for meaning. Humanity went through the vessel, came out of Eden, got a bunch of opinions, was dissatisfied with some stuff, and now we're going to struggle. And that dissatisfaction, by the way, it's a love language. 58 is one of the 10 gates of love inside the love course and inside what the actual love is, of 11 gates, really, because 10 counts twice. And it's expression of how much person with this channel when they're dissatisfied with you with the 18, and the 58, let's say, or just this cross, that's them telling you how much they love you in a way. I mean, it really is. That's part of their love language. The things they're saying they're dissatisfied with isn't like, I want to break up with you. It's like, I love you so much. Maybe if that's in you, that might be better or not.
Maybe this is something we could fix.
Yeah, right. It's part of a fixing type of love language. It's also opinionated as hell. I don't want to romanticize it too much. It'll keep you on your toes. Service people keep you on your toes. They're like saying stuff. They got stuff to say, man. It's all collective logic. It's got the 52 and the 58 and the 17 and the 18. Collective logic as an incarnation cross explicitly. That's pretty good.
Now we have our hexagrams for the week. First up, we have gate 17 in the sun, which is the gate of opinions, or in my I Ching book, it reads as following. And the trigrams are lake over thunder. And the image reads, at the center of the lake is thunder, following. A noble one at nightfall goes inside for renewal and rest. In spring, the dragon flies out over the fields and brings rain, but over winter he sleeps at the bottom of the lake. As the dragon and the noble one know, energy is stored up below the level of conscious activity. And so to connect with it, you need to go inside and sleep. Instead of obsessively pursuing your desires, stop and rest in accordance with the season.
God, so again, the whole thing when we're talking about 17, wait the right timing, rest in between, essentially, take a break, accept that rhythm. I like how that read. That noble one is on quite a trek around this wheel.
He's been learning
right?
a lot.
The noble one's busy around this wheel. He's always there.
Then we have the earth in gate 18, which is correction, or in my I Ching book, it reads as corruption. And the image reads, below the mountain is the wind, corruption. A noble one rouses the people to nurture character. The mountain traps and limits the movement of the wind, making for stale, unhealthy air, an invisible corruption, poisoning from within. But a noble one transforms the picture. He stirs people up like the wind and nurtures their character like a sheltering mountain. This can work among people or within an individual. Inner movement and awakening transform limitation into a protective covering for growth.
Judgment.
A noble one transforms this picture. He stirs people up like the wind and nurtures their character like a sheltering mountain.
Stirs people up. Remember I was saying this cross, it gets in your face. It's there. Service has got something to say. It's all saying. Everything about it is trying to say something. It's trying to stir things up because 18 wants to do that. And it's got the mental capacity to do so with 17. It's powerful that way. And that's got all that root energy to do it. I say gate 18 is an incredibly energetic gate, and it does stir things up. If you take the electricity coming off of that spleen as just pure raw power, that makes 18 light up like a lightning rod. At least in integration, when you get 34, all the other gates are totally ready for it. 10 is ready to center, 57 is already there, and 20 dissipates everything into the now. It's ready for it. 18 is ready for it, but it's shared. No one ever experiences the total self-absorption of integration, for instance, or the other, but when you get to, I'm comparing them because when you get to the 58, it's got that same kind of power. It's almost like a format gate, but it's not, and it's pointing right at 18. That's like a laser cannon of correction.
Yeah, I like how the I Ching reading of it speaks of the mountain trapping movement. You can't move in a mountain. The wind can't move as much, as kind of stuck in there, and how it becomes this stale, unhealthy air. It's this invisible corruption poisoning from within, and then 18 comes, stir things up and stir up the wind to move out that stuckness. Yep. Yeah, but it's also interesting because 18 connects with 58, and 58 is about vitality and joy. So it's like if the vitality and the health has been stifled, the 18 needs to come in like a whirlwind and be like, hey, this is what's wrong, and we need to stir things up because the vitality is stuck and it's
It's
stagnant.
waning.
It's
Yes,
waning. And
yes.
so the nature of that 18 to come through for the greater vitality, for the greater wellness of the collective is where that comes in. And I find that very interesting.
Straight up love of the collective and love programmed by the vessel from before. You know, we needed that programming on either side.
For this week, for our audience, stuff to consider, stuff to think of, and tying it all together, I would say, in starting with the earth, and the earth being in this 18, this vitality, this correction, right? So last week, the earth was in 46, which is about that wellness of the body and taking care of the body and the temple. And so now it moving into 18, and it's like the vitality of the collective and seeing what in your life maybe needs correcting. Hey, this isn't working that great, and it's stifling and it's stagnant, and something's kind of just like, like, you know, notice what needs to be corrected in that way to create more vitality. Like, ground yourself in that kind of correction, and not like a mean judgment of yourself or others. This isn't, you know, an excuse to be a jerk to you or other people. It's about noticing what needs to be corrected because something's gone bad, something's gone stagnant, and in this place of creating more joy and vitality. And then in that, see what opinions come up, see what hypotheses come up about, you know, moving forward, and what could be, you know, what you're curious about and what could be tested in that way. And again, these are projected channels. Don't just go blurting out, you should fix this, and this is wrong, and this is that, and I'm smarter than you. And, you know, like, that's not what it's about. But in that healthy way, and just kind of collecting them until, you know, people are asking you for those opinions. And there's something special there. At first, it can seem kind of annoying. Like, why can't I just share my opinions and I'm right and this, that, and whatever? But there is a sense of empowerment and a sense of appreciation. You know, don't cast your pearl before swine. So see what needs to be corrected and see what hypotheses you can come up with correcting those, and maybe first implement them in your life. Don't be pointing at everyone else. Implement them in your life, and then see what comes up, and see who's been asking you for those opinions and those corrections.
I'm so glad this energy is coming into the air, because I have a hobby group, a law group on the other side, and we've got a little saying. We say, I got to rebut that stuff. Rebut that stuff. You know, rebut that. Hey, what'd you say? No, I rebut that. That's the thing. 18. That's 18 and 17. Rebut that. Let them rebut. Challenge things this week. Challenge yourself more than anything. Watch how much energy pours through this particular opposition, this particular cross of starting with the cross of service, and recognize that you've got ideas and you've got things that haven't been challenged in a while. So one of the words I heard in the description of 17 had said something about rousing. I heard the word rousing. And this is a time to rouse up certain stagnant stuff that could have been due to be corrected. Even though I know that's language from Gate 51, it doesn't matter. It seems to fit right here. So, right? Challenge the thing and just stir it up, dude. And you know, run away if you messed it up a little bit. What? You're not going to jail. Just feel free to check out what needs to be corrected in your life, and recognize there's a lot of mental energy working around. How's that all going to work? It's a logical process, and it's trying to identify something. And in the moments you see a bunch of joy in your life, run with it. Run. Don't stop. Go back to you just learned about innocence. Go back there. Make sure you stay there for this process. Getting divorced. No divorces in this week. You can't do it, because just no breaking up with your boyfriend or girlfriend this week either. I just want to blurt that out, because now's not the time to do it. You're going to regret it. This is all projected stuff. You're just bitter. It's all going to pass. I promise it'll pass. I mean, most of it anyways.
I mean, don't make any rash decisions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, notice what could be corrected and come up with those hypotheses. And if anything, okay, how can we get through this together? Like don't throw out the baby with the bathwater kind of idea.
Right.
Just notice some stuff and then see it, negotiate it out, and see what could be done
Just
to
wait a couple days so that you can go through this process, and maybe you were right. Just wait a couple days because this can act quickly.
and it's just an opinion. You don't know
It's
that
just an
it's fact.
opinion. Right. And it's lightning fast, right? Spleen fast. That mind is fast too. It wants to move fast. So enthusiastically, it's got vitality backing it up. Vitality doesn't say, hey, let's hang on and wait a while. It says, I am now. So,
So
all right.
don't be gentle with yourself and others as always. Don't make any rash decisions. See what can be improved upon and
Yep.
focus on it from a place of vitality and the betterment of all.
Yes. Service. Service. Beautiful, glorious service to others. Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Danny. Thank you
Yep.
to our audience and our viewers. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, engaging with us. It's really awesome, and I appreciate all of you. And we'll catch you next week for some more transits. Bye.
Much love, everyone. Thank you very much.